So it turns out the Assassin's Creed modern day story is coming back in a very big way, and in this video we're going to be breaking down what we know and where it could possibly go. So as we all know, the modern day storyline in Assassin's Creed has pretty much been the most polarizing thing throughout the entire games. When the franchise began, its premise stood out very broadly. Players explored history through the Animus while engaging in a futuristic struggle between the Assassins and Templars. This sci-fi framing, led by the one, the only Desmond Miles, was a key element of the first 5 games, tying together the historical narratives and creating high stakes in the present day. But after Assassin's Creed 3 concluded with Desmond's story with his sacrificial death, Ubisoft struggled to figure out a whole new modern day story and how it would play out. What followed was a decade of experimentation, some successful and some less so. We had just full-on modern day cutscenes with no gameplay and no actual aspect of us being involved with it within Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Assassin's Creed Unity, and then in Assassin's Creed Black Flag we were this first-person faceless NPC sort of character roaming about within a modern day Abstergo environment. Now recently, Mark Alessis Cote, the franchise boss for Assassin's Creed, reflected on this story at a BAFTA event. He said that ending Desmond's arc was a very difficult decision, and afterward the modern day storyline struggled to find its footing. Now he wasn't wrong. Following Desmond, the series moved to a more fragmented storytelling, as mentioned previously, faceless Animus operators, and then we eventually got to Layla Hassan, a new protagonist introduced in Assassin's Creed Origins. Now while Layla had potential, Cote openly acknowledged that Ubisoft failed to build an impactful narrative around her. The series has experimented with a new Animus wielder, Layla Hassan, but Ubisoft has failed to weave an impactful and consistent narrative around her, Cote says. Now according to him, one of the main reasons the modern day story lost its appeal was its over-reliance on artifact hunting. The continued focus on characters hunting for ECU artifacts made the narrative more predictable, he said. It reduced the conflict between Templars and Assassins to a straightforward pursuit over control, let's be honest, around these magical relics. The shift, he argued, pulled the focus away from what made the series truly engaging: the philosophical and ideological clash between the Assassins and Templars, as well as that deep dive into historical settings and events. Additionally, he recognized the growing complexity of the franchise's lore as another obstacle. The compounded complexity of 15 years of lore built into this parallel storyline created a cognitive load that made the franchise difficult to approach for newcomers. Over time, yes, the modern day segments had become secondary concerns and they were more of a side quest than a key part of the experience. Fans like myself who adored the intricacy of the sci-fi framing became frustrated by its diminished role, while newcomers found the dense web of lore overwhelming and inaccessible. And I get it, newcomers don't want to join a franchise that's 15 years down the road and just have all of this existential lore from something that doesn't really play out through the main story, you know, going back into the historical settings. It can be quite troublesome. However, personally, I believe that the modern day is a core aspect of the franchise. I mean, it literally sets the stage for what we will be doing in the Animus and with this historical setting. Desmond was a good character and he was well played for Nolan North. Now, a few years back, Nolan North was at a convention, I really can't remember which one. There was a clip of him online that I'm going to play now for you.
The original story, as it was written, it was Desmond goes on these adventures, and they said we're probably going to do about 6 games, and each game Desmond will get, this was the original pitch, Desmond would get the abilities of his, okay, Altair, and now he has those, then it's Ezio, and he has them, and then it's going to be this guy, and ultimately by the last game, he would be the ultimate assassin with all these, and be able to time travel back. Well, I know, listen, this was, one person told me this, so I may be speaking out of school, but it was like, that would be, and I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Now I know loads of you have probably already seen this clip, but throughout it, Nolan North talks about what was the possibilities for Desmond throughout the Assassin's Creed saga. He goes on to say that this bleeding effect that the Animus users get and that Desmond has been able to control, other than allowing him to access his ancestors' skills and abilities, the bleeding effect at some point would have allowed him to travel through these different times back to Ezio, Altair, and other protagonists without the use of the Animus. This is something that I would have liked to see, because it really does delve into more of the technological and a mix of the magical elements that we have seen throughout the later parts of the series. It's not full-blown magic and it's not full-blown science, but it's something of a middle ground which I think fans would have loved, and I personally would have loved to continue more with Desmond. Now, Ubisoft is aware that these challenges and is working to address them with Assassin's Creed Shadows, which of course has been delayed until February 2025. Kote goes on to describe Shadows as a reset for the modern day storyline, one that aims to complement the historical narratives rather than overshadow them. He promised a return to what the series does best, exploring history while trying to create meaningful themes. He says that the modern day storyline will explore deeper themes of memory, identity, and autonomy, how the past shapes who we are and how controlling this past can impact our future. These themes, he added, will also touch on contemporary issues like freedom versus control, the power of knowledge, and the tension between individuality and conformity, something many of us older AC fans are very well aware of from playing the previous and early title. Now, I believe this approach is designed to not only make the modern day segments more engaging, but also to reduce the intimidation factor for newcomers. Kote said that Shadows will take the first steps towards putting history back at the center of players' experience, while the modern day storyline will focus on enhancing rather than overshadowing the historical journey. For Ubisoft, it's apparently about striking a balance, making the modern day segments meaningful without distracting from the immersive historical adventures that have always been at the franchise's core. Now, for many players, this shift is long overdue. The modern day storyline has always been divisive. Some players appreciate its lore building and sci-fi favor, while others find it distracting or unnecessary. Ubisoft's post-Desmond attempts, including Layla's arc, have drawn mixed reactions and have often been criticized for being overly complicated or lacking the emotional stakes that defined Desmond's journey. Kode's recent comments suggest that Ubisoft is definitely listening to the feedback and is focusing on re-establishing the modern day storyline as an integral but not overwhelming part of the series. The stakes, I think, are very high for Shadows, especially with the previous titles sort of going downhill with the RPG elements and the lack thereof a modern day story. Kode also emphasized that Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't just an installment, but it's a new direction, and this game will lay the groundwork for years to come, setting a foundation for a narrative evolution. These themes will allow us to reflect on contemporary issues, he explained, all through the lens of history. Now, these are all bold statements from Kote, and personally, I would just love to see them come to fruition. I really think that the modern day does complement the Assassin's Creed titles. Without them, we really wouldn't have had such an emotional connection to Ezio or Altair, Connor, and so forth. I think that the previous and classic modern day segments do allow us to become grounded within the story. Yes, there are some magical relics and runes that we have to find out, but being in the modern day, having all these scientific elements around it, really does make it feel like you are in the modern day and you are part of the story. And it's truly something that I really wish that Ubisoft would bring back in Assassin's Creed Shadows and future Assassin's Creed installments, because I have no clue what they're doing with Basim, because, you know, if you didn't know, Basim came back thousands of years and he's now our modern day protagonist. Mirage was a great game, but it's weird how now Basim is in the future, and I just don't get it. But ladies and gentlemen, in the comment section down below, let me know what you think about the modern day story within Assassin's Creed as a whole. Do you like it? Did you enjoy it? Do you want it back? Or do you just not like it at all and you'd rather have a full-on historical game set throughout different centuries and different historical settings? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like would be greatly appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for some more Assassin's Creed Shadows content. Hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.